All right, let's do this thing. Let's get it going. All right, hello and welcome everyone to the GGG podcast. I am Paul. Had a great week, and I am joined here after having a great week by Phil.
Hey, I'm Phil, and happy birthday, Paul. I don't know if you wanted that blown up on the internet, but
we don't have to give the exact date. We can just, leave it loosely in February. So
it was loose February is Paul's birthday.
Yeah, loose February,
which is also one of my favorite months because it's loose.
Wait, just in time for Valentine's.
Hey, yo, let's keep it loose for Valentine's Day. So, yeah, this is the GGG podcast.
Yeah,
I feel like the intro is loose.
I messed this up initially because I went in like two different directions. I was like, "This is how I am." I haven't introduced Phil. Nah, I should introduce Phil. So it was some back and forth. It was all over.
I like this vibe though.
Yes.
Paul, your birthday week. What have you been playing?
Oh well. I've been socially more busy, so I had a couple good days to play some games, particularly a little game called Helldivers 2, which we will be talking about in our main topic, and I will give all of my juicy opinions. It's all over. Every YouTube short, every TikTok video is Helldivers this, Helldivers that. I love to see it. I'm having a great time with it. So I got to play a really good chunk of that. Played a little bit of Enshrouded last night. And I played one singular round of Foam Stars. Believe it or not.
Pretty fun little game, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I played one round and I was like, I think that's enough. I think like it was nice, but it just kind of, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll go back to it. It's still installed.
This is plenty for another time.
Yeah. So that and played some Party Animals on my birthday.
Great game.
And what else? I think, of course, Power World. Power World's still going on. I think I got some. I think I'm like level 41, 42. So nice. It is a steep climb now. I can see the top of Everest, but it's still really high up there. So
it's a grind.
It is. What about you? What have you been playing this last week?
Mostly Helldivers, which we'll talk about later, of course. But I also got to play a little bit of Skull and Bones in its beta. And we can talk about that when we talk about what's releasing this week, which happens to be Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
But yeah, Helldivers, a whole heck of a lot. I feel like I've been a little more socially busy too, but whenever I get time at home, it's like, okay, let me just deliver a little bit of freedom right now.
Right. So, just a little bit of liberty.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a dash of democracy.
Ooh, a dash of democracy. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna put that in the hashtags. Well, that's a pretty good segue. So just go right into it. So this week for the releases, we got Skull and Bones coming out. Phil's played it. Phil, what are your reactions?
Oh man. So did you, when you were playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag, did you ever think to yourself, man, I wish this was worse? Because if you did, I got great news for you. A little game called Skull and Bones is on the horizon. There it goes.
Wow.
I played.
I did. I was taking your question so seriously for a second. I was just like, what was I thinking about when I was playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag?
Edward Kenway. Let me really get into his thoughts.
Yeah. So it's just bad. It's just everything removed.
It feels cheaper. So I played like 2 missions, and then I was like, that's it. I could be playing Helldivers right now, and so I dipped right out. And I gotta say, some of the things that initially bummed me out was like the controls. Like, you start in a crappy ship, I'm assuming. The controls were just rough. And there were, like, you had a target reticle that was a little bit more arcadey feeling than Assassin's Creed.
Sure.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
Because I guess they tried to make that a little bit tighter. but then you're also firing at like red areas of ships. Like they have little, oh, there's ammo here, there's this will blow up. But it just looks so gamey and fake versus
The
a
aesthetic.
game that like, yeah, the aesthetic is, grounded pirates. So the two really clash there, and you're like aiming with a reticle, which also feels strange. Like it just looks like a gun reticle. So there's a lot of things they messed up on there. I seriously am so confounded this game is coming out.
Damn. All right. Not holding back. So is the game comes out on the 16th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have early access or
I played in the beta.
played in the beta. I see.
Yeah, that was going over the weekend.
Right.
A pretty brave attempt to get people to play their game, but again, Sony just like kind of came from the top ropes with Helldivers, and that took over the internet. So I don't think many people played Skull and Bones, but
Yeah. Helldivers, funnily enough, a much less expensive game as a service.
yeah. Well, and we will get to that. The other thing coming out this week though that I'm actually pretty excited about is Banishers: Ghost of New Eden. It is by Don't Nod, and the reviews are coming in pretty hot on this one. It's like a fantasy game with these two lovers, but one of them is a ghost. I don't know if it's a spoiler or anything, but that's like the part of the buy-in of the game.
Right.
But it seems like a narrative action game. Exactly the kind of stuff I'm into. It's like not quite AAA. I guess it's a AA game, so like not as big as something like Last of Us, but with a lot of heart and a lot of storytelling.
I mean, the game looks good. I thought the animations look good. The combat looks well thought out, looks fluid. So I'm very curious about it. This game came out of nowhere for me. I had no idea what this was until like yesterday. So I'm curious to see have any reviews been posted for this yet?
Yeah, the first like roundup of reviews I believe just popped on the internet this morning, and I think based on what I've seen, like the average is somewhere around like 87 or 92. Like
wow, it's very good.
It's high 80s, low 90s.
Yeah, very very good.
Yeah, really excited to play it. But I think one of the drawbacks of this type of game is a lot of people are going to wait for sale.
Sure.
I get one of the just because it's like, oh, it's not a multiplayer. I'm just going to play it once. Might as well.
Well, it's a $70 game.
That I'm not sure of. I have to check the price on it.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, it again something I'm just like, oh, February, man. Why are all of a sudden like this is a AAA month in terms of spending that we have to do for video games now.
Yeah, I was looking at the releases for next week, and we're gonna have a nice little lull.
Okay.
Let's not next week. It should cool off a little bit, and we'll have to go back to some older games that we already own, like Baldur's Gate 3 getting a big update and an anticipated update for a lot of Baldur's Gate fans out there. This has been kind of dubbed the kissing update, and it will help the kissing and the romance in the game for those of you, all of you, who are Baldur's Gate 3 fans.
You're all perverts. We know.
Yeah,
we know you.
Yeah,
we know you've seen the.
It's okay. But because it's been dubbed kind of the kissing update, the studio has come out and been like, hey, just so you guys know, we are improving the kissing, but there are other gameplay improvements and bug fixes that we have been working on. So it's going to be a pretty big, just all around quality of life update for the game. And the big thing is though, it's a 21 gigabyte update to a game that is already humongous. So I don't know.
That is a hefty kiss of update. First initial thought, so happy that Larian is just like, yeah, so we released the game like half a year ago, but this wasn't right, so we just fixed it. Or this wasn't like exactly what we wanted, so we fixed it. I saw another like bit about the update, and one of them was that sometimes characters will like speak up when you're supposed to like have a reaction to something, and they would like overrule your reaction. They're fixing that, so it just seems like a lot of things to make the story experience smoother.
Sure.
I mean, even the idea of kissing, like, first of all, as far as I know, making kissing happen in games is one of the hardest things you can do because it's literally like two models slamming up against each other, and you have to make it look convincing. But I think that is sort of what's like a sign of what they're trying to do, which is smooth a bunch of things out.
Right.
And it's just nuts that, like, you know, I feel like I played a full game when I beat Baldur's Gate, but now I have to play it again to see, like, how good it's going to be.
Yeah, maybe you should give it, like, the Cyberpunk treatment. Like, come back to it after a year that it's been out.
Yeah.
Play with all those updates, see how it is. So, yeah, very, very cool. Exciting for Baldur's Gate 3 fans. I'm still in Act 2. And I've kind of trailed off from playing it, if I'm being honest. But I'll try to get myself back on the train. So we'll see.
I think that game is a lot like a good book, where you like pick it up for a little while, you put it back down, you pick it up, you're like, oh yeah, this is great, and then you put it down, and then eventually someday you finish it in your sweatpants.
Okay. All right. So moving on to our next news topic. Phil, you brought this one to the forefront, being the captain of all the Phils.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had our weekly Phil meeting,
right.
Our weekly annual Phil meeting, and Phil Spencer let slip to me that he's going to appear on the official Xbox podcast on February 15th, along with Sarah Bond and Matt Booty, to discuss the future of the Xbox business. Now, if you listen to the show regularly, you know, last week we talked about how Xbox, there's all these rumors that they're going to be releasing Starfield, this, that, the other game on other consoles, namely PlayStation.
Right.
And this is that meeting where they said that they would come out and illuminate us. So really exciting to see. Of course, it's planned for after our show, which is, I asked him if he would move it. I even pulled rank, and Phil Spencer said no. So we will have to talk more about that next week.
I mean, I'll tell you what, though, from last week's podcast, and if you haven't listened to it, please go listen to it. It's entitled Xbox Exodus, and if I'm right on what I said, like I am gonna do like a mini podcast when this goes down, because like no way. I don't know. I'm sad. I feel like I bet money on a disaster happening, and so it's awful. But I want to be right. So anyway,
you're like a 49ers fan who bet on the Chiefs this past weekend. Like, you're like, I know it's probably gonna happen.
I don't want it to happen, but it's gonna. But yeah, not really a lot of other information other than more information is coming, and we have a date. It's for February 15th. So when that happens, keep your ears and eyes peeled for news on Xbox. So
now, speaking of big companies doing wild things, why don't we segue our way into the next story, which is Disney announcing a partnership with Epic Games, which isn't the wildest thing. What is wild, though, is I feel like I've also heard rumors that Epic Games is looking to continue their job-cutting thing that's going on. That's like a whole separate thing, but they're literally partnering with Disney to hopefully work on future games, like use the Fortnite engine to build new games with all of their different characters. Great, but also, what?
Also what? What do you mean? Also what?
That's it. Just what? Like, it's a strange move in my opinion.
I think so. Like this, I was not expecting this, but the minute that I saw the video, and for those people who haven't seen the video, go look at the video. It's a very short video, but to me, it seems to very heavily imply that they're going to make a digital Disney World or a digital Disneyland. That seems to be what it is. And it could, like, to me, it, like, as far as a business goes, I think it's a great idea. Like, I don't care about a digital Disneyland. I don't, but kids would. And I think you could have a more budget friendly way for, families who don't make a lot of money, to, their kid could go to digital Disneyland, and get coupons and stuff and whatever. But that's really what the trailer implied. So I'm sure, like, they'll have like a Star Wars land and a Marvel land and all of this stuff. And I think with Fortnite's aesthetic and its access to a younger audience, I think this is a perfect marriage of the companies. Not to mention, Disney spent $1.5 billion to acquire an equity stake in Epic Games. So they are in it together. So they bought a stake in the company. So, like, I'm curious to see if Disney wants Epic exclusively making their brand games in the future, or if they're going to continue to sell the license to companies who want to do Star Wars, Marvel games and whatnot. So
that is interesting, because we do have Ubisoft Iron Man game coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Ubisoft Star Wars game coming up.
Yep.
And we have a Black Panther and Captain America game. We have, and not to mention Wolverine and Spider-Man being made by Insomniac.
Yeah.
So I do think it's probably going to be a little bit closer to what you said, a digital Disneyland, or like if you ever messed around with Disney Infinity back in the day when that was a thing. Do you remember that?
Yes.
This feels a lot like that, where instead of having the physical toys, you're literally just like getting the different skins in Fortnite. That's one of the fun parts about Fortnite for me, is collecting, like, okay, all the Marvel stuff came out, I'll unlock that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's smart. I'm kind of like, just like you said, a digital Disneyland would be cool. I'm just wondering, what does this mean for their games? Like, we're talking about if they are going to partner with them to make all of their future games or to make their future stuff. It does seem like a bit of a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, flying in the face of what I said, you talked about all those Disney properties that, have games coming out. It's like down the line, like 6 years from now, after all those games release, like, will they stop selling the license? I don't know. I think, again, Epic has a lock on the younger audience, or at least a younger American audience. And so maybe, like, the more kid-friendly games, they're just there for Epic to make. Younger audience games there for Epic to make. Yeah, they want to let Electronic Arts do Jedi Fallen Order 3, sure, because it sold well. So, yeah, I don't know. It makes a lot of sense. I can't really say that I'm happy about it. I'm not sad about it. I just kind of, like, it makes a lot of business sense. This is the first intelligent thing I've seen Disney do in a while. So good for you, I guess. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Epic Games is they haven't really let me down with Fortnite in a big way. And in terms of companies that, like, do a game as service, they are, I think, the one that have proven themselves more than anyone else, and for a longer time.
Sure, absolutely.
So yeah, this is a good question mark. We'll see. Hopefully not.
All right, well, moving right along. So we got some news from the Grand Theft Auto 6 Florida tattoo face guy. For those of you,
I believe he's the Florida Joker.
He's the Florida Joker. He calls himself. That's right, the Florida Joker. So the Florida Joker, for those of you who are not aware, is the guy in the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer who has all these tattoos on his face. And so there's a guy in real life who believes that his likeness is being used in the game, similarly to Lindsay Lohan in Grand Theft Auto 5. And originally, his plan was to sue Take-Two Interactive for the use of his license. And, like, obviously there was a lot of backlash to that. But the latest update of this weird story is that he has he's no longer pursuing any legal action, but he would like Grand Theft Auto to put him into the game so that he could voice himself. And I think that's a better angle to pursue. I don't think it's going to happen, bro.
Yeah, if I could just take over for Rockstar in this moment. No. No, you did a dumb thing on your face, and we made fun of it. We don't know you anything.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that, like, you know, people like the Florida Joker, who I've known about for a little while, sadly, because of like a Channel 5 thing.
Right.
They're just really good at like finding their moment and capitalizing on it, and this is him attempting to do that. Kudos for that. Like, you know, Rockstar, it's weird because they're owned by Take-Two. They're a big company that, like, Take-Two's kind of sketchy. I'm still rooting for them in this scenario of, like, the David versus Goliath, because I'm like, that David has face tattoos like Jared Leto's Joker. Why did you pick that one of any of them?
Right. Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. Not much to say about it. We're kind of in the same, we kind of have the same opinion here. So, yeah, try a different angle, man. Maybe you can get something out of this, or like when the game comes out, like start streaming. I think that'd be a great way to get an audience or something like that. You know, you have some clout to play with, but yeah, demanding money or a job, I really just don't see it happening.
That's a great angle though. Like if he made a character that looked like that and was just playing.
Yeah, he played as himself. Play as himself. Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
So, all right. So a little bit of news coming out for Diablo 4. It's the usual bullcrap with some backlash to some more microtransactions. Yeah.
From Activision Blizzard?
Activision.
No way.
What? Ridiculous.
Activision Blizzard Microsoft?
Oh my God, Oh, I get it. Okay. All right. So,
oh no.
So this latest backlash to their microtransactions. So as other Diablo players out there know, when you go back to town or when you fast travel, you use portals. And so the traditional color of that portal is just a regular blue portal. That's what just they look like in Diablo. Except now Blizzard has released a cosmetic pack for your portals, where you can have different color portals, because this is the Barbarian portal and this is the Necromancer portal. And so now, instead of it being blue, it could be purple, or it could be red, or it could be yellow, or I don't freaking know, whatever. And so they allow you to spend real money to change the color of your portal. And they also give you 1,000 platinum, by the way.
What? Oh, well.
Yeah. Which
well,
is like,
on.
I mean, hot damn. So that's 1,000 platinum is equal to $10. But the thing is about this pack, Phil, this pack costs $30 frickin' to buy. To change the color of your portal, it's $30. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, why don't I just buy the specific portal color that I want? Why would I buy a bundle of portal colors? Well, Phil, you are not allowed to buy these portals individually. You must buy them in a bundle, and there is no other option.
What? Well, here's the thing. I'd be willing to pay $2 American for this. 30 is insane.
It's insane. It's like... Well, just price your things appropriately. Like, oh my God.
It's a like incredible understanding of the market ecoplace right now, because who has all the money right now? Millennials, Gen X, and Gen Z. We've just, like, you know, a lot of us are not having kids. We've got money to spend. But the issue is all of us also don't like buy fancy cars. We just buy like what gets us from A to B. There is not that like consumer drive anymore. I think that also applies to how you fast travel in video games. Like, we realize that it's just a look. We don't care. The portal looks cool already. Mm-hmm. It's a portal. It defies time and space. Super awesome. I don't need it to look red or have like little stuff creeping out of it. Don't care. $30.
$30.
if I'm playing Diablo, if I'm playing, I could pay $10 more and get Helldiver, a whole different game.
Yeah. So the article that I think was actually talking about it was posted on IGN, and apparently a lot of people are saying that this Portal Pack alone is the exact same price as Power World. Why would I buy a Portal Pack over Power World? So I mean, and then there's other people saying, well, you get the 1,000 platinum, which is $10. It still means that 5 portals are $20. That still means $20. It's ridiculous.
You can just use platinum to buy like other cosmetics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad Activision. Stop.
Bad division. No, didn't work out.
Bad division.
Bad
Blizzard.
Oh. All right. Let's keep it rolling. I want to get to our main topic. I'm excited to talk about Helldivers.
Me too.
Okay. So little tiny news story. A couple of little tiny news stories to kind of round the news out for the week. So some financial data came out for Take-Two Interactive, whom we were just talking about, and Microsoft has not shared how many Xbox Series X's they have sold. They kind of keep that number under wraps, but because of this information in an earnings report from Take-Two Interactive, people were able to determine the amount of units sold of PS5s and Xbox Series X's. As far as Take-Two Interactive is aware, and it looks like PlayStation 5 has sold about 50 million PS5s, and Xbox Series X has sold about 27 million units. So essentially, the PS5 has outsold the Xbox 2-1, which is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Even like I knew that the PS4, beat out the Xbox One era, but it wasn't like this.
Yeah. I didn't think it was this bad, champ.
So, we talked a lot about this last week, so we won't get too deep into it. But I think it's just comes from a place of Microsoft not really pushing their product as much as they just don't feel like they believe in their product anymore.
I think like Phil Spencer said on multiple occasions that he thinks they lost the most important console war, which was previous generation when everyone was building their digital libraries. It's much like if you have Apple Music, or if you have an iPhone, you're more likely to stay with iPhone because you have your apps and you have everything set up on that already.
Right.
So if you have a strong digital library on your PlayStation, you're going to stick with that. Man, listen, I wore this shirt today. It says "Be kind" to remind me to take it easy on Xbox.
Yeah. All right, we can leave it there.
You got keep going, guys.
We'll see. All right. Well, another company who could use some kindness today is SEGA, as they have issued a financial warning to the company, essentially saying that they did not meet any of their financial goals for the 2023 holiday season, particularly with their Sonic franchise, their 2D Sonic that came out, as well as Sonic Frontiers, and their Total War franchise, which I'm always surprised that there's another Total War coming out, but there always is. And the latest one, I believe, was an Egyptian Total War. So a pretty cool concept, pretty rad. But yeah. SEGA just not selling games. And they're essentially prepping the company for probably could be layoffs. Knock on wood, it isn't. But could be layoffs, could be a number of things. So I figured that this would be a good opportunity to kind of talk about the state of SEGA a little bit. Because, when do we ever talk about SEGA? Never. So
never.
Do you...
I grew up as a Sega kid. I had a Nintendo Entertainment System starting out, and then it was immediately Genesis, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, and then there was no more Sega consoles to have. So Sega has a real fond place in my heart, And they're sort of like I'd say like the dark Nintendo. Like they do off the wall things. They have like your really fun character platformers like Sonic Adventure, but they also have strange games like Seaman. Um, they had things like the Visual Memory Unit, Vector Man. So I love that Sega is like still out there doing stuff, and they work largely with Nintendo now. And it's kind of a bummer to see them like flailing, even with things like Persona 5, the Persona series in general popping off. Um, I believe they own the Like a Dragon, or they published the Like a Dragon series. And to their credit, they made one of the first good video game movies with Sonic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They've done some pretty cool stuff in their time. I think Sega's just always like the little engine that could, that's just struggling at all times.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like they've been struggling for like 20 years. I know some people who used to work at Sega. The company it's a good company and everything, but just not. They don't really put out a lot of good games. I mean, they're very good at licensing Sonic to other companies. I just kind of think, Sonic is not Mario. And I love Sonic. I do. I'm also a Sega kid. My first console ever was a Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
And and I owned, the original Sonic when it came out. And I love Sonic, but he's just not, the games are not of the same quality and design that like a Mario game is. And I feel like, Sonic Frontiers was fine. But I don't know what they're going for. I don't know what audience they're trying to capture. It's like, well, it's cartoon Sonic. It's realistic graphics, and the game is about, it's like a Flash game everybody wants. But I don't know. I don't know how Sega. They are the little engine that could. I don't doubt their ability to survive because they've survived for 20 years without making a whole lot of good games. So
here's my hope. I hope they pull it out for long enough to release that Jet Set Radio sort of reboot, their Golden Axe reboot, and their Crazy Taxi reboot, because they teased those, and I think everybody got really excited because we had a lot of fond memories of those games. But listen, I know I'm not necessarily rooting for this, but Microsoft, if you wanted to buy something to at least put you in the Nintendo space, Sega's your way there.
I mean, they're gonna buy Pal Worlds, I'm sure. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Sega, but I think something that you kind of just alluded to just then was all of the games that they got coming out is they're selling me nostalgia. You can sell me nostalgia, but like you also need to do new things. You need to come out with new games. And if Sonic is not the genre that is in right now, it's not the banger that it used to be, try something new, try something different. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So
yeah, come on, Sega, you got this. You got this. We're rooting.
You can do this. All right. The movie was good. Okay, I'll give it to you. All right.
Jim Carrey saw your script and liked it. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. And he's not doing any other movies. So
it's actually he announced recently that he is returning for Sonic 3 as Dr. Eggman.
God.
So
wow.
Sega, you got something cooking.
Something. All right. Finally, on to our main topic, what I've been wanting to talk about this whole time. Helldivers 2 came out earlier this week. Everybody has been loving it. Not a lot of reviews have gone up quite yet, but I don't really think it matters because everybody freaking loves the game. The first day, there were some server issues people were complaining about, but again, it's the first day of a multiplayer game. There's going to be server issues. So, like, I have had no problem playing with friends. I do have a problem with, like, quick play and matchmaking. So hopefully they're going to resolve all of those issues. But I have been absolutely having a blast. What about you, Phil?
I have been having such a wonderful time. I will say this game too is also one that it is easy to get your friends to buy because it's $40, which is great. But just talking about how much fun it is, like some of my friends who normally don't hop on the bandwagon of multiplayer games are like, oh, I got to get in on that.
Right.
Yeah, I love this game. Like, it offers one thing extremely well, which is basically like a Starship Trooper sim. But then I found out that when you go to fight there's robots in the game.
Right. Yeah.
Not a spoiler.
The Terminators.
It's basically Terminator. Like, you're fighting those wars from the future of the Terminator movies, and it's very different and very challenging, and you kind of have to reset how your brain works when you're fighting.
It's almost a different game, like fighting a different faction. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, so I'm in love with the game. I guess, what are your overall thoughts, like a couple sentence review of Helldivers?
Okay.
For people who...
Spark Notes review for Helldivers. I think, at a $40 purchase, it's fantastic. It is so fun. The gameplay is familiar but unique at the same time. I think there is a total element of, I don't know, it has that fun factor. It has the fun factor of like, also the game doesn't punish you if you die a lot. Like, there's no negatives if you die, other than you get back to your ship and one of the people's like, we lost a lot of Helldivers today, so like there's no, you don't get less experience or anything like that. And the way you can die in silly ways, there's friendly fire, it puts you down in a generated map that you have to, like, you can plot a course of, like, there's the mission structure repeatability is fantastic. And I think, like, when you're talking about games as a service, where, like, this is a type of game that works perfectly for that. And also, if you go to their store with their microtransactions that they do, they're very reasonable. They all of their items that they sell on the store are $1 to $5, which is what a cosmetic should cost. Like, that's what it is. And, like, if you didn't buy the Legendary Edition, you just bought the $40 regular edition, if you play through the Battle Pass, you will have enough money to buy the Premium Edition Battle Pass. So it's like, if you want to just buy the regular edition and then earn the Premium Edition, you can do that. And that is incredible.
Let me tag in here, because you could actually find the premium currency in the game. Like, you can find super credits.
Yes.
Just lying around sometimes, which is amazing.
Yes. Oh my God.
Please.
Rewarding gamers. And so, like, I understand that it's 2024. Making quality video games is expensive. And, we always, we're very, like, pro-union people most of the time. And so, like, we think, like, video game developers and people who work at these companies, they need to be compensated well, and they need to have a livable wage. And I understand, especially when you're having a game as a service, that you need some form of microtransaction if you want to keep improving the game. I understand that. This is how you do it, is you keep them reasonable prices. You keep them under $5. None of this $30 for Portal colors crap that other companies try to pull. And
I mean, it's just smart from a business perspective to, like, to make... I find myself... I play Magic. I've alluded to this. But I find myself, like, if I'm at the store and I see a booster pack, I'm like, that's $5. Yeah, why not? I'll get something that I'd like out of that. Like, if you make me spend less, I will spend more. And it's weird, I guess, to feel like, yay, someone's doing microtransactions well, because I guess that's just the sort of the world we live in now. We're like, okay, microtransactions should be a thing. But I'm very happy to see the way they've done that. I guess in terms of the gameplay, there is also just so much good to it. Like, the shooting feels phenomenal in a way that Destiny 2, I think, kind of captures it, where the guns feel distinct.
Yes.
Hitting a creature or hitting a thing, like, you break off bits of it, so it's always getting you this little reward of, like, dopamine of, like, okay, I need to figure out to shoot this one in its underbelly, and you're managing your tactics based on what bugs you see come out of like a bug hole or whatever. So
Right.
you're constantly making little adjustments. Like, okay, I got to run from that guy, and you can get better at the game by just learning the mechanics. So there's a dive mechanic that you can use where you press circle twice and you dive backwards or you dive forwards. But one of them that works really well is if you're like, okay, I think this thing's gonna die, but it's just gonna get to me. I can dive to the ground behind me and shoot it more.
Yeah. Makes for some great moments. Oh my god.
It really does.
The stratagems, like I remember the stratagems from the first game and they were really good, but they are incredible. The amount of variety and like that adds an element of gameplay that most other games don't have. And I think like when you're talking about like a third person shooter, you really only get those kind of moments in a third person shooter in like a single player story driven environment where it
very
is
scripted.
It is some pre-scripted moment where, you know, yes, the bomb is going to go off, and like to be able to give players control over, we can call in airstrikes whenever we want, you know, or like, you know, it has a cooldown and whatnot, but for the most part, it's like you can call down, you know, experiment, try some crazy things, have some jets come in and do a strafing run or a napalm blast. And it's just like there's so many different things that you can do gameplay wise. And then I'm starting to really get into the equipment. Like, and noticing, oh, okay, so the armor sets, even though they are aesthetic, all of these armor sets, they have different perks. And so like this is really the medical armor set. This is really the gunner armor set. This is the grenader. This
is the grenadier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like that element of there's more depth than I thought there would be. I will say like I am a little concerned about the amount of content in the game, but I think there is so much room for basic improvements, like simple things that they can do to keep this game going for a long time. Like we were talking about how there's two different factions and how it feels like a completely different game. That is such a remarkable thing to say about a video game, where the game completely feels different shooting the robots versus, and it's not just because you're shooting something different. Like when I play Destiny 2 and I'm fighting a different faction, it feels the exact same as the other faction.
Yeah. Shoot the glowy bit.
Shoot the glowy bit, whatever. But in like this, in Helldivers 2, it's like you were thinking, like you're more on the run when you're fighting the bugs, and it becomes more like a war and a shooter when you're fighting the robots. And then you got sorry, I'm going on a rant, but I can't stop.
No, good.
They got,
I love it.
Like the stratagems, like there's specific stratagems that are like, oh, okay, this stratagem makes sense if I'm fighting the robots because it gives me a bubble shield for oncoming fire, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for the bugs because the bugs aren't,
because they'll just run through it.
They're going to run through it. They're not going to shoot anything at me. And so like being able to pick out the things that'll be the most useful, and even if they only added one more faction to this game, like
it would be huge.
I think the Galactic War you talk about the Galactic War because I've been going.
Yeah, well, there's one thing about the stratagems, and I think just like about friendly fire always being on in this game, so you could blow your friends up, which is annoying when it happens. It's not like the end of the world, but it's like I gotta go find my stuff on my dead guy, so I don't have to order new stuff. But it really creates this level of cooperation and communication that a lot of games don't necessarily need, where you're just like doing your own thing. You're a one-man army in most games. In this one, you're working together as a team. If you find the objective that's like a bug nest or something, you're like, okay, everybody prep an eagle run. And you throw down 3 of those, and that does a lot of the work for you. Mm-hmm. But it takes like, okay, everybody wait, throw it so they don't move like towards us. You have to do a lot of like planning and creative just working together. Now, the global war effort is pretty interesting because it is like the meta narrative of the game that is being contributed by everyone who's playing the game. So I believe this week's objective is to free 2 planets in a particular system, and it's been really cool to see like that Heath was liberated. Yeah, we all put in our work, put on our boots, and we delivered them democracy.
Yeah, I think we only have a couple more days to liberate Angel's Venture. Otherwise,
I think we're gonna do it. You know,
all right.
I believe in the democracy and freedom enough, but I guess like that expands further out. Talking about the narrative for a second,
Yeah.
because it's like, you know, it's a very thin narrative. It's just a setting, but they did so much work to make it. I mean, obviously they're borrowing pretty heavily from Starship Troopers,
Yeah.
where you are this militaristic, almost fascistic like society. But every little bit of flavor is great, down to the voice lines where you when you throw a grenade, your person will say like, "Oh, I hope you like some liberty."
Yeah.
To the opening credits where it's like it shows you a cinematic, and it says like, "Not paying attention to the cinematic can be considered treason." Like everything is just dripping with this really fun aesthetic.
Yes. It's
And they just lean on everything. So go for it.
no. I was just gonna say like it's a fantastic vibe that they've established. So like I love the Galactic War. I think like as for like a game as a service, I think it's really great that you can be like, well, we have these specific planets in the game. So it's just like, what specific planets do we want to put into rotation? And I think that's a great way to keep the community a little bit engaged of like, okay, we've been fighting on the snow planet for like when the game first came out, I feel like everybody was on Heath. And like now we're on this desert planet and there's different stuff in the desert planet. And it's I don't know. I love the game. Very excited. I will say for people who haven't bought it yet, thinking about getting it, I would recommend getting it on PS5 just because I would say the haptics are freaking amazing. They are some of the best haptics for a shooter on I will sometimes just use the machine gun, not because it's my favorite weapon, but because the haptics with the machine gun are so freaking good. And like diving and then like just holding down the trigger, like where it's and your haptics are, woo! It is exhilarating. It is very exhilarating. So
I've been playing with an Xbox controller just because I feel like the thumbstick placement helps me with accuracy. But I'm gonna plug in the PS5 DualSense to give it a shot next time I play. One final note that I've noticed, and that is the difficulty curve in this game. The difficulty goes up to like 6 levels beyond where you start. 9 levels. Okay, 9 full levels.
Yeah.
And I've gone from challenging. I think I've done hard, which is like third up from medium. And man, it was difficult, and it had all these new like things that were really messing with me, new types of bugs that I hadn't seen before. And I think that should hopefully add to the replayability and the longevity of it.
Yeah.
Because once you're fully kitted out, I think that will mean that you can stand a chance at some of those higher levels.
Yeah.
So just, I think all boxes are checked on this one, and especially at a budget of $40 or $50 for the extended one, it's great. Yeah, I don't know. I think just this game is full of water cooler moments where I was visiting with Paul this week, and he showed me a clip of from when we live streamed of him calling me in as a resource to kill like this really big bug, and my drop pod just smacked right through it, and it was gorgeous. Yeah. It was beautiful.
It was fantastic. Oh my god.
So.
Oh my god. I love it. Yeah, I think the progression is pretty good. It is a little it does slow down, but that's fine. I want it to last. And like when you get more powerful stratagems, like I think the first like enemy that I had problems with were like those bile beetles that spit they can get you in one hit. And that's another thing about the game is like you're just a soldier. You're not a space marine. You're not Master Chief. You're not Marcus from Gears of War. It's like you can just die at any moment.
You could trip and die.
So but yeah, like once you get those better stratagems, you can just take out things very, very easily. And then like the progression of like upgrading your ship, you're getting all those bonuses. Like, I cannot believe that there's 9 different levels of difficulty. That is crazy. And for those masochists out there, level 9, the difficulty rating is called Helldive. So
does that imply to you that that's the difficulty they intend the game to, like, that's the true game?
I mean, if it was a movie, that's probably what it would be.
Yeah.
But I ain't ready for that. I ain't ready for that yet.
I will say, so my favorite sort of upgrade that I've gotten thus far is it's called a guard dog.
Yes. And
that's just
the drone.
So you get different, like, equipment. This one is a backpack that has a drone mounted in it, and it just comes out and it's like 4 little jets propelling just a robotic arm holding a gun. And it just passively shoots at stuff.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, the game is,
I love that.
It's real silly.
Love that one.
Yeah.
If you're playing by yourself, that's a great one to have. Something to cover you other than you. So
it also my friend was playing with a gun that, like, is a rocket launcher, the recoilless rifle.
Yeah.
And I had to wear a backpack that was ammo, and, like, when we would be killing a big bug, we would both be, like, standing together, and I'd be reloading him and shooting. Like, yeah, it's a very creative way to handle so many things that make it feel a little bit more realistic, even though you're fighting bugs on an alien planet.
Right. Like, I want to, before we got a couple more minutes here, before we go, I want to ask, like, you, why, in, like, in as simple terms as you can, like, why do you think the game is so fun? Like, ignore, like, all the gamer stuff that it does right.
Yeah.
But, like, what's the basic element of why this game is so much fun?
It's challenging. It's not oppressively hard, but you feel real success when you do something. You shoot the bugs, goo comes out, and you have a cape. Like, it's stylish, it feels good, and there's just enough challenge where you feel like you actually did something. For me.
Okay.
What about for you?
I was just gonna say, like, I think it just gives me and so many other people that feeling of just in the movie, in any action movie, where you're just holding down on, like, guns, just shooting.
Yeah.
And you're just like, ah! like that sensation. As, like, not a lot of video games capture that sensation because they're trying to balance things, and and I think that this game really succeeds because it's cooperative. They don't have to worry about, oh, is this weapon fair? Like, they can just make an awesome weapon because you're just blowing up bugs or robots or whatever. So, like, I it's so much fun. It is fulfilling so many little childhood things in my mind, and I cannot stop playing it. And I will continue. I will play it more today. So,
I have noticed in, like, I guess in the periphery around this game, there's a Starship Troopers first-person game that came out recently. Yeah. I was relatively interested in playing it, but then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait for Helldivers 2 because that looks great. But I've noticed that game keeps advertising, like, ever since Helldivers 2 dropped. Like, hey, this one's 30% off. You want to try it? And I'm like, nah, I got to deliver some freedom. I'm busy. Yeah, so man, I don't know. If you want to play this, go buy it. Like, if it's any of this sounds interesting to you, go buy it and play it. Help us liberate Angel's Venture. Help us defeat the robots. I'm sure there will be a new threat eventually.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure there will be updates. Like, I'd love to see them adding loadouts, so you can save some loadouts. I think that would be cool. But yeah, fantastic game. I'm excited to stop this podcast so I can go play it more. So
exactly,
that's probably what's going to happen. So, but yes, I think that's going to do it for us for this week. So, thank you for joining me here, Phil, and thank you everyone for listening to the GGG podcast.
Ooh, bedroom voice.
Yeah,
I like that.
So, if you haven't already, please give us a like, give us a subscribe. I almost did it again. We got 2 more subscribers last week, so that was exciting. So let's keep it rolling, trying to get to 300 subscribers. If you're listening to the audio only version, go subscribe to us over on Spotify and give us a like or review over there as well. It would help us out. Phil and I, we did a Twitch stream last week. Pretty casual. We did it over on Twitch, as I just said, but we're gonna try and do it on our YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for that, and be setting up a YouTube stream. So, all right, I think that's gonna do it, Phil.
Yeah.
You gonna go Helldive?
You know what? I really need to go for a run, but I'm gonna Helldive tonight.
Excellent. As long as we get boots on the ground in Angel's Venture, everything will be
We gotta do it.
We gotta do it. All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.